Major League Rugby. This is the first for me doing a video on Major League Rugby, but my man Alan has sent me this rather large package with what I believe is a jersey or two from Major League Rugby. So I figured because Alan's taken the trouble to send that through, thank you so much for that, Alan. I'll do a video on Major League Rugby. It's not a league that I am not one that I'm all that familiar with, to be honest. I've been following it very loosely for the last couple of years. But yeah, if you want a website like America's Rugby News is always the best one for everything going on like not just North America, but just American rugby generally and world rugby. It's a really good website. And yeah, I've taken a look at one of their pages to have a look at the squads, the rosters for the 2020 season. And I've picked a player for each team who I think is kind of one of the big names in the squad this year. Fortunately, every squad had a player that I knew the name of, because I certainly didn't know all of them. There seemed to be a lot of sevens players playing over there. There's a few development guys. There's a few guys in the later years of their careers, a few big names, a few up-and-comers. So, yeah, it should be an interesting league to try and keep an eye on this year. I know some of the games in the past have been on YouTube, but I am actually not sure how to watch those games from New Zealand this year. So if anyone does know, do let me know. Otherwise, I'll just flick around on the internet closer to the time. The league starts in February. Pre-season's kind of already getting underway for some of the teams, so it should be an interesting season to see how the teams go. I don't have any magnets for any of the teams, so excuse my handwriting if you can even read that. Otherwise, I'll be reading it out. Like I said, one player from each of the teams. It's probably fortunate that we're after Rugby World Cup year as well, so some of the American players and some of the Canadian players who I might not have seen that much of, I did get to see the Rugby World Cup, so maybe you guys are familiar with them as well. Austin Hurd. I should say, before I started the video, I tried to, without looking, write down as many MLR teams as I could think of, just to test my own knowledge. I knew there was a team in Colorado, but I couldn't remember what the name was. It's Raptors. I knew about the Houston SaberCats because that's a pretty unique name, SaberCats. I don't think I got the Free Jacks. I'm not actually sure what a Free Jack is. I know there's the Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL. New Orleans Gold I knew. Old Glory DC I knew, but only because of that name, which I'll get to a bit later. Utah Warriors, I don't think I got that one. Toronto Arrows I got because someone's been in touch with me about those guys previously. Seattle Seawolves because they seem to be the team who wins it. Yes. San Diego Legion, yes. Rugby United New York, I knew there was a team in New York, but didn't know it was called Rugby United. And Rugby ATL, which I believe is Atlanta. No. So, again, I'm definitely a learner in the world of MLR. But hopefully with Alan's package and me actually starting to maybe get into it a bit more, it's something that I'll be able to speak of with a bit more confidence in future. But here we go. Austin Hurd, Frank Halai, former Blues man. He went over to France at the end of his career, but still an exciting player to watch. Big guy. He's got a pretty good fend on him, so I'm not sure what the gas is like these days, but if he's still got the majority of that pace that he used to have when he was over here in New Zealand, he should go okay. One of those guys who looked like he was going to really be a phenomenal player, but just ended up being pretty good over here in New Zealand. Colorado, and they had a few that I could have chosen from. I went with Digby Ioane, Wallaby, Queensland Red, Super Rugby winner. Played for the Crusaders as well for a few games, but very good player. Again, tail end of his career, but big runner. Likes to go through players, so won't suffer as much from a loss of pace as perhaps some other guys would. They've also got Henko Hermges, who for some reason I remember from the World Cup, I think. And they've even got Rene Ranger as well. So they seemed fairly stacked with some talented players. Houston SaberCats have got Diego Fortuny, hooker from Argentina. I'm not sure why I know his name. He's played for Argentina before, I think once. It's always Crevi and Montoya, so I know his name. but that's about it. So he's an Argentinian international. So that's a good start, especially if you're going to build a team, build them from your forwards. Speaking of forwards, the New England Free Jacks have got Kensuke Takayama, former Japanese international prop. So again, building your team from the forwards and letting the backs kind of take care of themselves is probably a good mixture to getting a winning team, even if it is kind of sexier to spend the money on flashy backs like Digby and Frank Halai, but props are probably a better return for investment, but I guess we'll see. Especially because props age maybe a bit slower. They don't have to worry about losing pace. So, I mean, that guy down there is getting on, but he's still world class. New Orleans Gold, Cam Dolan, and it's nice to have an American international on the list. Very impressive player from what I've seen of him. Loose forward, hard tackling, good work rate. So, yeah, that was actually quite refreshing that it wasn't one of the imported players. That was the guy that kind of caught my eye. Old Glory DC, it is an import. It's the beast, 10-time Tawera. Just won a World Cup. I thought he was going to retire. He's off in America. So, you American guys are pretty spoiled for choice. They've also got Declan O'Donnell, who's a former... He was on a fringe of a Super Rugby contract here, played a bit of Mitre 10 Cup. He's an exciting player. I should have mentioned New Orleans Gold have also got Robbie Coleman, who's an Aussie player, who's a good, exciting outside back as well. So, yeah. Oh, and I forgot New England. They've also got Bodine Waka, who's another guy who probably kind of like Declan O'Donnell, fringe kind of Super Rugby player, exciting. I think he plays fullback from memory, but yeah, exciting player. Rugby ATL as Atlanta. They've got Kurt Coleman, who's a South African, played for the Stormers for a few years, number 10, so a good guy to run the show, probably a pretty solid investment. Yeah, I mean, nothing much more to say about him. I remember him being all right, not bad. Hopefully he'll do well over in America. Rugby United New York, Matthew Bastareaud. The guy, I'm not sure if he's going to play loose forward or if he's going to play centre, because he's got the build to play both. He's a big ball runner. He's called time on his French career. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes over in America. He played for the Barbars recently, so I saw some interviews with him. His English is pretty good, so he should get on pretty fine. They've also got Dylan Fawcett, who's a good player, and they've got Kara Pryor, who's got another bit of a New Zealand connection, another loose forward, kind of hard-working player, which is good. San Diego Legion have got Ma'a Nonu, and that guy is kind of against that trend that it's only forwards that can maintain their career at a certain age, because he's getting on as well. But he played for the Blues last year, and he wasn't like as good as he used to be, but he was still pretty sharp. It's not like he'd really lost it and looked out of place. He looked really good, so I would be excited to go and see him play if I was, a San Diego fan. So that's kind of good news. They've also got Mike Teo, who's kind of one of my favorite American players. Even if his tackling technique's not that good, he always makes something happen with the ball. Seattle Seawolves, they've gone with Leguizamon. So, again, another guy at the tail end of his career, but was playing for the Jaguares last year, played for the Pumas. So, gritty, grafting, loose forward, should definitely add some value experience, and some guys will definitely learn from him. And he's still got enough to bring about it on the pitch. Toronto Arrows have got Lucas Rumble. I love watching that guy at the World Cup. Tackling machine. Very, very exciting player. They've also got a couple of... I think he's captain as well. They've got a couple of Uruguayan internationals as well, and based on the World Cup form, that can only be a good thing. And Utah Warriors, Dwayne Politaival, scrum half from Samoa. He played in the World Cup. So, again, another guy fairly experienced. I think he's in the late 20s, so... a good guy to kind of have around the camp, because, I mean, there's a few positions you want to get. They always talk about the spine. You need to have a good front row. Good number 9 is also one of the important guys to have. So, yeah. MLR. I will have to try and see some of these guys playing over there. Now, I guess part of the reason I also wanted to do this is because... Alan sent through these jerseys, I'm slightly concerned I may not know them at a glance. So at least if the name's on a board, hopefully that's there as a bit of a helper as well. Right, this one is, oh, it's got the Texan flag, so I know it's one of the Texan teams. That has to be Austin Hurd. I'm putting it out there. I'm pretty sure I've seen that logo. Very slick. Paladin. Okay. Made in Pakistan. Very cool. Very cool. I do like that touch. When I was living in China, I had a friend from Texas, and she had the Texan flag in many locations. What is this? I've become a founding member of. And I think this one is going to be the New England Free Jacks. That's very cool. Man, nice. A Paladin. Are they all made by Paladin? Maybe that's a thing. I mean, I don't watch much NFL, but I guess the blue, red, and the white is the New England color scheme. Very cool. Very cool. It goes on. Right. This one. Okay. Thankfully, this one's got the name on it, so it doesn't test me too hard. It's the San Diego Legion. Okay, it's not Paladin, this one. It's X-Blades. That's pretty nice. I know that's a bright color, but I do like that. My daughter's crying, but she hasn't even seen it yet. Maybe she'll stop crying when I show her that one. And there's one more. Far too kind, Ellen, man. The last one is the Houston Sabercats. That's also a Paladin jersey. Nice. And they've got a sponsor. Very cool. Very cool. Well, man, I can't imagine there's many of these floating around New Zealand, so I am truly honored to get these from you, Ellen. Thank you so much, man. I've been meaning, like, there's a few things that I've been meaning to put more of an eye on. It's like rugby sevens, especially with the Olympics this year. Is the Japanese top league, I guess, but that's kind of harder to come by English content, but it is also the MLR. So I think more of us will probably be paying attention to it with guys like Digby Ioane, Martin Nonu, Matthew Bastero. Guys like that signing can only be a good thing. Hopefully that gets more Americans into the game as well. I know it's a kind of niche sport over there in the States, but hopefully it's doing all right. And yeah, MLR. Do let me know, all you MLR fans, some of the other guys. Like I mentioned, I only really know some of the big name players, the internationals, the guys you can see. I can put those jerseys up for a reason. Southern Hemisphere guys, even if they didn't kind of really make it hugely on the international scale, like Kurt Coleman, like I guess to a lesser degree Frank Halai, like Dwayne Politaival. Like these guys I know probably because they're more in my neck of the woods. But for those Canadian, American, maybe even Uruguayan players and whatnot, do give me some insights. I'll try my best to see some games. And I guess I need to pick a team. I don't have a team in the MLR. I don't have many teams in America apart from the NHL. I don't really have any teams that I particularly follow. So it may be time for me to pick a team. But anyway, thank you again, Ellen, man. That is very kind. Thank you so much for sending that through. It is very much appreciated. And yeah, cheers, guys. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.